Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Special Economic Zones. In fact, it's the first episode of a new year, 2021. In today's episode, we're going to cover SEZ administration and various models. In essence, we're going to cover which model is best suited for a country. And to determine that, it's going to be largely based on the law itself and the legal tradition of the country, and also the particular outcomes or objectives of a special economic zone regime in that country. So you have different types of models out there. There are models whereby the Special Economic Zone Authority is a strict regulator. That's all they do, regulate special economic zones. There are also other models out there, for example, in Dubai, where in a sense the government actually owns and administers the zones themselves. So they are the landlord, but also the regulator of the space. And then you have a hybrid model, but even within the hybrid model, there are variants. So Jamaica's regime, for example, is a bit of a hybrid whereby the Special Economic Zone Authority is a regulator, but it's a regulator plus. So, for example, the authority has economic development powers or direction within the legislation that empowers it, be it the act or the regulations. It also has, which also would include promotional activities, for example. It also has a little bit of a landlord or a potential for landlord once lands are vested or put in it to manage, but it can't operate zones, or more accurately, can only operate zones under emergency purposes. For example, when a developer is failing or something like that, the authority has the right to temporarily step in. So there's variants of that hybrid model. So other hybrid models, that's Jamaica. So other hybrid models may see whereby the authority actually has other powers other than simply just being a regulator or an economic development agency. So how do you determine which model is best for you? As I said earlier, that will depend on your legal tradition, the objectives of the law, and also the background, or where do you want to take the regime? Because some things will, and the law, the specific law. That's what I was trying to remember. The specific law, how that is crafted to reach the outcomes, and of course that will be informed by your legal traditions. In Jamaica, as I said before, we have a hybrid model where we're allowed, or where we're directed, in fact, to do certain things, economic development wise, promotional wise, and even being a landlord. But it's not something that you definitely have lands. There are other models where within the hybrid where the authority definitely has lands and is charged with promoting, is the landlord, is the regulator. Naturally, that can pose challenges because it's sometimes best to have a separation of powers between the landlord, because in essence you're regulating in some ways, not in complete sense. In some ways you're regulating yourself. So you'd have to put checks and balances against that. The very dogmatic approach says that there should be clear separation, and that has worked in some instances. In other instances, it hasn't worked, or it's slower. The separation allows for less potential for corruption and other things, and also it gets government out of be in of business. So even within the hybrid model, and Jamaica, special economic zone authority is directed by the legislation and by policy to be commercially minded. You have to have that, or else you're going to run into to problems, because governments have other objectives other than simply commerce, which is left to, or largely left to businesses to do. So you have to be commercially minded. Uh, if it is that you're operating that hybrid model, and you're the landlord, the regulator, everything combined together, there has to be that mindset, or basically mandated by legislation or policy, that it must be run on commercial terms. So it can't be run because you want votes, or because you're meeting some other priority. It has to be run on business terms. So if it's failing, it has to be cut off. Just like our business would just cut off certain things, it has to be run on those terms, or else it won't work properly. So that's that commercial mix of hybrid. But then there's also the hybrid, which Jamaica is more towards, of having the regulator, but also the economic development side of things. And the Singaporeans, for example, um, were and are still very good at doing that, using regulation as a means to develop the economy. So the two work hand in hand together. So that was a brief on SEZ administration and various models. So if you like what I had to say today, please like, share, leave a comment, leave a comment for a future episode, and I'll see you soon.